Priestley opens his book with a vivid image, not you chasing customers, but customers queuing for you. He paints scenarios of restaurants with long waiting lists, festivals whose tickets sell out in minutes, service providers who must turn business away. These scenes are not mere bragging, they set the stage for his central premise that the most sustainable and profitable businesses are those that create demand greater than supply. From the very start he challenges a key assumption, that the role of marketing is simply to drum up more and more leads. Instead, he argues businesses should aim to create scarcity, a kind of purposeful limitation, where the business deliberately holds back and says, there are only X spots, or this is a limited release, so that the tension between what's available and what's desired drives urgency and value. The narrative then guides you through the idea that price is simply a reflection of this supply/demand tension. If unlimited supply meets moderate demand, you compete on cost; if demand far exceeds supply, you command premium pricing. In Priestley's words, you'll only make a profit if your capacity to deliver is less than the demand for you. But it's not just about limiting supply or raising price, it's about shaping the market you serve. Priestley tells stories of people who refused to operate in the generic everyone market and instead carved a niche, specific kinds of clients, distinct values, a unique proposition. The move from "I serve anyone who comes" to "I serve a specific group who believe what I believe" is central to the oversubscribed mindset. One of the turning points in his narrative is the section on "Four drivers for a market imbalance: innovation, relationships, convenience, and price." He explains that in any marketplace one or more of these drivers must be leveraged so the market tilts in your favor, so you offer something that others either don't, or you deliver it in a way others can't match. He illustrates this with examples of companies that succeed by focusing on one driver and letting it carry them. Priestley also introduces what he calls a campaign-driven enterprise, rather than a steady drip of marketing. The idea is to build pulses of attention, pre-launch, launch, post-launch, rest, so that you create momentum rather than just hope things trickle in. He tells how you build up to being oversubscribed by signaling, by using waiting lists, and by revealing just enough to invite interest before you release the product or service. These are more than tactics, they're a shift in how you approach business cycles. There is a chapter that personally stands out, the idea of signaling interest instead of asking for the sale immediately. Imagine you launch an offer and the first thing people do is say, "I'm interested," rather than, "I'll buy now." That opens the door to a waiting list, to momentum, to social proof. Priestley shares real examples of how this reduces friction and helps create buzz because you're not pushing, you're asking someone to step into a story of possibility. Another keystone in the narrative is the notion of being remarkable. Not just good, remarkable. Because in a world saturated with offers, the only way to trigger oversubscription is to provoke attention, emotion, and loyalty. He argues that, "It's okay to be different," is more than a slogan, it's essential. The businesses that win are those that don't try to serve everyone, but those who inspire a tribe, who believe in a mission, a story, a worldview. What is compelling is how he frames the ecosystem. Your offer is not just the product, it's the bundle of experiences, stories, reputation, and relationships. He brings to life the idea that value is created not just at the point of sale, but through the network, the referrals, the returning customers, the brand story. That elevates oversubscription from a clever marketing trick to a holistic business model. He doesn't shy away from the practical side. You must know your capacity, what you can deliver, your market, who you can serve, and your timetable, when. The story shows the entrepreneur who overstretched and lost quality or burned out, versus the one who set capacity, created waiting, and delivered excellence. The tension between growth and delivery becomes part of the narrative of sustaining oversubscription. The book also uses the metaphor of a buying environment. Priestley describes how the conditions under which someone decides to buy matter more than you think: urgency, scarcity, social proof, a meaningful story, all combine to make people act rather than defer. He illustrates how failing to create the right environment means your offer will sit there and wait, rather than spark a rush. Towards the end, he addresses how teams and systems must support this model. He warns that oversubscription is not a one-time trick, it requires delivery, iteration, and celebration. You create a high-demand state, you deliver brilliantly, you thank people, you rest, you innovate, and then you build again. The story comes full circle. You don't become oversubscribed and then relax. You stay highly demanded by staying engaged with your story, your audience, and your value. A memorable moment. He describes business owners who used to desperately chase leads, discount, and lower standards, and shows how shifting to being selective, saying, "No more clients this month," or "Our next intake is full," changed their mindset and their income. The story makes you feel the freedom of being in the driver's seat. The customer now knocks at your door. In closing, Priestley leaves the reader not merely with marketing tactics, but with a transformation of identity. You become someone who creates demand, not chases it, someone who builds a tribe, not a crowd, someone who structures your business around your capacity, not your desperation. The storytelling lifts the business strategy into a worldview of choice and influence. If you imagine it as a story, you've built a workshop, and instead of advertising endlessly to fill seats, you send out a message: only 20 people invited next month. Sign up your interest now. You wait until you have 80 interested, you pick 20, announce it's full, deliver an exceptional experience, those 20 rave about you, and next time you open seats you've got 200 waiting. That's the arc of oversubscription: the build-up, the release, the delivery, the reputation. That story runs through the entire book.